Hi, my name is Debbie Pixton, a program director at the Consortium for Public Education. Today, I'm interviewing Cristyn Coles, a literacy coach at Woodland Hills School District, as part of our I Reach, I Teach video series. Thank you so much for joining me, Cristyn.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for being with us. Cristyn, how long have you been in the field of education, and what exactly do you do as a literacy coach?
So I just finished up my 20th year. So I'm going into my 21st year of education, which is very exciting and very hard to believe at the same time. And as a literacy coach, I work with teachers to help implement the best strategies to get our students to achieve and be successful in their learning.
So, Cristyn, what do you like most about being in the field of education?
I think the opportunity that I get to work with students. My colleagues are wonderful, but the number of students that I get to come into contact with over the course of the school year and over the course of my career as a whole, when you think about it and reflect on it, is pretty amazing. And the number of kids that you get to have even the smallest impact on, our students, especially working at the secondary level, are at the point where they have to make life decisions. What are they going to do once they graduate from high school? And knowing that you have the opportunity to connect with these students and to build relationships with them, to encourage them to really, think about what it is they want to do once they leave school is pretty exciting.
Cristyn, when you were growing up, did you have an educator of color who motivated you to become a teacher?
You know what? That's an interesting question. I went to a fairly diverse school district, and honestly, I can say that I can remember less than a handful of educators of color in my whole school experience. And so one teacher that I did have in high school, his name was Mr. Chandler. He was a social studies teacher. He was my 10th grade social studies teacher. Just the way he taught and, the excitement that he had every single day when he came into the classroom was pretty amazing. And I ended up going into education and becoming a social studies teacher before I became an instructional coach. So I would say that he had a fairly decent impact on me.
So is that when you knew you wanted to become an educator?
You know what? I, for a long time, thought I wanted to become a lawyer. And so all throughout high school, I was set on, becoming a lawyer, going to college, and then going to law school. In my senior year, we had an opportunity. It was called the Professional Experience Program, and you would job shadow. And I had a placement in a law office, and I think I got cold feet. And I said, I don't know if this is really what I want to do. And I ended up getting placed at my middle school with my 6th grade social studies teacher. And it was like a student teaching experience, and it was the most wonderful experience I had. And so going forward, there was never a doubt then that I wanted to be an educator.
So Cristyn, why is it important for all students, and especially students of color, to have educators of color?
I think, in this time where we continue to see representation matters, I think that is really the most important thing. Having the opportunity to see somebody every day who looks like you, who can relate to your background and your experiences, I think is really important. I think when you look at what's out there, and sometimes kids just want somebody that they feel that it's easy to talk to, that they can relate to, that can understand where they're coming from. I think that's super important for our kids today, because that isn't always the case. And so when you have somebody that I can trust this person, even if it's just on the surface, I feel comfortable enough to approach them or be able to talk to them, and then to be able to build that relationship as you go, I think is really important. And to see people who look like you and realize that is attainable, that is something that I can do, and I have the support to be able to do it.
Cristyn, can you tell us about a time when you could tell the impact that you've had on a student that's been especially rewarding?
I thought about this question, and I remember I was teaching 9th grade, and I had a student named Bobby. And Bobby was a difficult student. There was, he, for as much as he tried, academically, he did struggle. There were behavior issues, but he showed up every day. And there was a lot going on in Bobby's outside of school life that I didn't realize what was happening. But the student shows up to your class, you're going to do everything that you can to help make the student successful. And I remember getting an email from his mom later on towards the end of the school year, and she told me that I had saved his life. And I think I continue to think about, that's the one experience that, I will hold on to. And you don't know the impact that you have on kids every single day. Your students come in and, we all say, and we know as educators that we don't know what's happening, once our kids leave us every day, when they go home, or when, before they get to school in the morning. And to have her say that as, a parent, I think that is one experience I will never forget. And I was actually in a restaurant, and he was working in a restaurant. This was years ago, but years after I had him, and he remembered me and I remembered him. And it was a really special experience for sure. And it's amazing because you don't know what you said or what you did. It's just, you show up every day because that's what you do. And I think it's important for people who go into education to realize that you don't know the impact that you have on kids, and you may never know the impact that you have on them, but it's just important to show up every day.
Christyn, what advice do you have for students who are considering becoming an educator?
At this point in education, I say this all the time, after 20 years, and 20 years ago when I was having to decide what I was going to do, when I grew up, it's important to know and be committed, to really know what you're getting into, because there's no amount of training that will ever prepare you for what you're going to face day in and day out as an educator. I think that just making sure that you really think about what it is that what your values are, because it's going to be important when you have to, get up every morning. It's not going to be easy. There are going to be days where you struggle, and there's a lot of things that are happening that are out of your control. Whether it's a student's home life, whether it's what's the politics of the district that you're working in, or if there's craziness that's happening within your building day to day, you have to be committed, and you have to really be flexible and know that this is what you want to do. That it's not just as simple as I'm just going to go to work and that's going to be it. It's a lot of time, a lot of hard work, it's a lot of effort, and it's just something that you need to make sure that you're really invested in.
Christyn, is there anything else you would like to share about being in education, or for students who are considering being in education?
I would encourage you to do it. After you take a long, hard look at, what it is that you really want to do, what your purpose is. I think a lot of times, when you're young and you're, finishing high school and you're in college and you have these opportunities in front of you and you don't really know what it is that you want to do, but really take a step back and think about what you believe your purpose is. And if you feel as though you could impact even one student or impact what is happening as a whole with education, it's worth it. It's not easy for sure, but it's something that is very rewarding. And it's a special occupation. It's not a job. It's not just work. It's a calling. Not everyone can do it. And we know that, there's those sayings that, everybody can't be a teacher, and it's really true, but the impact that you have on your students as they grow and as they develop, those are the formative years for young people. And I think it's important that we need to see more representation for people to feel comfortable and know that they can be successful, and to prepare them.
Christyn, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights with us today.
Thank you for having me.